Well, there's a 308. It should pour. Starting good cycle.
Good morning, everybody. And yeah, it's a different intro. I figured I'd throw a couple of different ones in here from time to time. This is Pwnery's Week in Review, and it is episode 36, which means I think I've been doing this now for, what is it, 7 months? Something like that? I don't know why. Anyway, this intro, if you're curious, it's called Alaska, because I have an Alaska state of mind right now. Don't know why, but it is what it is. And I've got a cold front over my head, which is kind of ironic, because once I tell you about my week in review, you'll perfectly understand why I feel like I do today. So, that being said, should I let the intro just wind out for another couple of seconds? Yeah, let's do that. It's a pretty wicked old track. This came from 2008. Had to dig deep into my drum and bass collection for this one. Let's see if we get hit with a copyright strike or not. So anyway, as per usual, I usually have more panelists than this, but apparently Tony doesn't care about us little people anymore. So, despite the fact that I told him, yes, we will be doing these in the morning again, he still didn't make it, bastard. So I have Scott. I know that I don't have Jaime because he's probably still asleep, but it is what it is. So good morning. Well, I guess I'll just summarize real quick. We have breaking news, and I think I'll just go ahead and get into that first before we do our personal weeks in review, because that's how breaking news works, right? So let's go ahead and just start with that, and let's get this out of the way. Apparently, the French have declared war on the First Amendment in Canada. And as you can see in the story I've posted on the screen, the French Freedom Convoy is now literally under attack by the police, the RCMP. They are surrounding them and tear gassing a peaceful, non-violent protest. Now, think about the scope and the level of protesting that we have all seen in the United States for the past, let's just say, 3 years. You know, whether it's civil rights involved, whether it's police brutality involved, whether it's self-defense shootings gone by the wayside because people are looking for a pariah involved, Kyle Rittenhouse, stuff like that, right? Think about those levels of protests and the almost complete inaction of law enforcement to disperse or put an end to those. And then look at this in Canada, where truckers are fed up, essentially, and they have parked their vehicles to make a point. And what's really funny is one of the stories I've got for you this week involves the very same thing here in the United States. Because if you weren't aware, there is a U.S. Freedom Convoy that has literally hit the road today, which means there is a protest coming to a city near you. And I suspect, well, originally I had suspected that we would teach Canadians how the First Amendment really works, because their police are being incredibly overbearing right now, if I'm perfectly honest, using tear gas for people who haven't done a single thing except park their vehicle with banners on it. Right. So the latest update was an hour ago. The police are firing tear gas to clear protesters. In a way, I'm sitting there wondering, shouldn't all the truckers just, I don't know, seal up their vehicles a bit and just chill out in the sleeper cabs of their trucks and refuse to move? You can still make your point, and all the tear gas would be useless, wouldn't it? But then again, they probably never thought this was going to happen. And if you've seen the state of some 18-wheelers that are used in, say, Yellowknife or Nunavut, they leak like a sieve. Air, water, fuel, oil, you name it. So maybe maybe some of the trucks just can't be sealed. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Either way, this is the last update. They're firing tear gas at protesters. 2 hours ago, they sent the police in, dressed like this, to move on the Ambassador Bridge, which is, I think, the bridge that crosses between Detroit and Windsor, Ontario. You can correct me that if you know better. You can correct me on that if you want, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is because they're blocking bridges across the border crossings. 5 hours ago was an update for a story that the truckers had already cleared the deadline and they weren't moving, so they stayed on that bridge all night as well. I think this is the same bridge though, the Ambassador. Yeah. And the mayor of Ontario says that he is disappointed but hopeful, and he calls it an illegal occupation. Well, at least he's not calling it an insurrection, right? Because that's only what liberals do in our country.
Oh, they were doing that.
Okay. I know Justin Trudeau is basically being the minister of propaganda himself. Who was that? That wasn't Goebbels, was it? No. Anyway, he was imitating the minister of propaganda as best as he could.
Yeah, that was Goebbels.
That was Goebbels. Okay. So, that's my first breaking news story for you. And now that we've got that out of the way, let's go ahead and do personal weeks in review because I know mine's been pretty bipolar, but how was yours, Scott?
About the same. I did get to shoot my new gun, though, so that was a good thing.
This is the ProTech Ultra.
Yes, the
10
Rock Island mouthful.
Yes. That one does have a long name to it.
It does.
I took a good look at
It shot
mine.
very nice. I put 150 rounds through it,
Mm,
and it shot 100%.
nice. And then you've sort of found a life hack for additional magazines too, right? Because the factory 16 rounders are getting kind of rare and they're pretty pricey, but I think you scored yours for like $28, right?
Yep. I had
And
to
the
make some
catch?
modifications to it.
Yes. What was the catch?
I had to make Dremel go brrr.
He had to de-California a couple of mags.
Yeah, basically I had to cut out the damn dimples in the sides of the mag. So now it's got windows.
Sweet. Witness holes. One big square window. But you already fed it. You already loaded it, so we know it's good to go. Now we just got to get you those fancy... are you doing the +3 base plates for that?
Yeah, probably.
See, I run the Springers, which are only like quarter-inch thick, and you got to get that lock plate that comes, to lock them in.
Yeah, but the springers don't add capacity.
Right, exactly. But I was pretty happy with
They
the
just
way it
add
was.
weight, so they drop free.
Yes. And I didn't want it to stick out too far past the flared mag well, so I went that route. But I could be persuaded to get a couple of more mags with a longer base plate, just to see how well it runs.
Yeah. Well, I did contact Lock Grips.
Mm-hmm.
They make the G10 grips that I have on my Beretta 92X.
You trying to get them to modify a set for your rock?
I'm going to send them my rock set.
Oh, are they cool with that?
I emailed them last night. I haven't seen a response back yet.
Okay, yeah, I asked them about that before, and I think they told me that they would be willing to do it, but it was going to take a while if I sent them the grips, that I probably wouldn't see them for like 8 to 10 weeks just because they have to scan them and then they, cut you a set or whatever.
They got to, yeah.
Which is fine, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the thought crossed my mind because I was thinking about getting a set of grips for the Hudson, surprisingly enough. Despite the fact that I do like that they're smooth, I'd like to replace them, I think, just for duty use. And then...
That's the one fault I can find with this gun is I don't like the grips at all. There's no grip texture to them.
Mm-hmm.
They look nice.
Mm.
They said they're G10, but they have no grippiness to them at all. They're super slick.
Mm.
And I don't like that.
I'm indifferent to it.
This thing's a fat freaking honker to begin with.
Oh, yeah. You know what's really funny, though?
2011.
I looked on the side of my box, right? And realistically, these are 2011 frames because it's a double stack.
Yeah.
But on the side of my box, it says 1911 A2, which...
Yeah, mine says the same thing.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like, it's not. It's clearly
I know.
not.
But mine says M1911A2 caliber 10 millimeter.
Yep.
Pro Match Tech Ultra 6-inch high cap.
That base plate would make your gun a 20 round 10 millimeter.
Yes, I
That's
know.
very enticing. I'm actually thinking about doing the same trick to my 43X because I'm running the shield mags, and they do offer a +5 base plate. And that gun's so small that having that extra bit stick out's really not going to be a problem for me. I might do that. They sell a kit where you get like, I think it's 4 mags, 2 of them with the +5 base plates, and the metal mag catch for the Glock for like 149. So I may
That's
do
not a
that.
bad deal.
Yeah, I might do that. I mean, I'm already running 2 shields and then 2 of the factory mags. And I was going to mag guts the factory mags with +2 or 3 base plates. But if I go this other route, then I'll just leave the original mags alone.
Mhm.
Like, I always carry the spare original mags in my work bag. Even though my holster carries one in the gun and then one outside the gun, in front of it, the commander holster. So the 2 shields are in there. And then I could just get like a mag pouch thing for the other 2 or the other 3 or 4, however many. Depends on how bad the boog is going to be. That'd be cool. I like my 43X. I don't shoot it very much though, which is really strange. Even though I carry it almost every day, I barely ever shoot the damn thing. All right. So what else do you got going? I think there's a purchase or a layaway coming up today. Yeah.
Yes, once the show's done,
Uh.
as long as he's got them in stock.
And tell the good people what you ordered.
I talked my FFL into ordering me, and possibly him, a CZ97D.
Which is the 45, right?
It's a 45 CZ decocker model.
Mm-hmm. And not made anymore, right?
They have discontinued them, supposedly.
Mm-hmm.
But yet they keep finding more to ship. And Sportsman's Guide can go fuck themselves for canceling my order, claiming they never got my FFL information, and then canceling my second order saying they were out of stock, said they oversold.
How convenient.
And wouldn't let you back order. So Sportsman Guide can go fuck themselves on that one.
They're the 4Pay people, right?
Yes.
You'll forgive them the next time they have a good deal come up.
Possibly, but not right now. I'm not.
No. All right, so my personals week in review. What a roller coaster. So if you guys were here last week, we did a primetime show because I went to a gun show. That day, I had mentally cleared my calendar in my head because I had been looking for my dog Charlie, who took off out of my backyard on the 3rd, which I think was a Wednesday or a Thursday or something like that. It was the day that an Arctic cold front came in, and it was raining all day, and he got out, and the temperatures dipped into the 20s. So I got a phone call. You guys mostly know this story, but I'll just paraphrase. I got a phone call, dog was missing. I left work early. I was frantically driving around the neighborhood because I've been in Alaska, and I know how bad cold weather can treat the body, and he's a dog with very short hair, and he was wet. So I drove around and put almost 60, I think it was almost 60 miles in the odometer, just doing big circles throughout my neighborhood looking for him, calling out to him. Couldn't find him. And the following day, I printed up a bunch of signs. No, sorry. Following day, or 2 days later, I had done the gun show in the morning. Because what had happened was I drove around thinking that somebody must have picked him up because I saw no evidence of stray dogs anywhere. I found one giant stray dog. I found 2 cats and a squirrel. And I thought, nah, somebody had to get him. He doesn't look like a Yorkie, but he's still a cute dog, and he's not very big, and someone probably felt sorry for him seeing a shivering wet dog. So that's what I went with. I'm like, somebody probably picked him up. At least I can get some sleep, keeping the mental peace. Saturday I did the gun show, met a couple of really nice people in terms of like milsurps and like custom AK parts and things like that because I recently got into AKs and my mind was clear for that. Came home focused on making lost doggo signs and hanging them around the neighborhood because by then he had been missing for more than 48 hours. Still no evidence of missing stray animal, still no evidence of roadkill because I saw no buzzards in the area except for one set on top of a dead squirrel. Not the same squirrel I found. And I thought, it is what it is. In the process of making the signs, I I printed them on my color laser, I put them on a really heavy cardboard backing, and then I had asked my folks about clear box tape because I wanted to seal it so it wouldn't get affected by the weather. And I got into an argument with, I think, my mother at the time, and it got pretty heated, and she called the sheriff on me for whatever reason. And I wasn't going to stick around. I was looking for my dog, so I just left the house. I was like, you deal with your own problems. I'm out of here. And I drove around hanging up signs. So, sorry. So we got all the signs up. I cleared the things up with the sheriff. Made my mom look like a complete idiot. She got reminded that filing false police reports is a felony, and the next time they'll take her to jail. So, that happened. Then I got this call Sunday because nobody called answering the signs. And I had posted on a local community Facebook page for lost animals in my neighborhood. First call I get, ex-girlfriend. Didn't want to talk to me over almost a month and a half ago. Like, she was trying to get into some sort of marriage scam, life insurance thing with an ex-boyfriend of hers who's got terminal cancer. Go figure. Anyway, I didn't want nothing to do with her. She wanted nothing to do with me. Then all of a sudden she calls me. And she's crying. And she's like, I'm so sorry about your dog. My friend owns that community page. I told her to put it live immediately. And I've copied your listing and I put it all over my area too. I thought, cool, thanks. And then I said, I haven't heard from anybody all day today. And she said, well, it's Sunday. Most people are either out and about or they're just not thinking about it. Maybe you'll start getting calls in on Monday. So Monday, I get up, go through my normal routine of getting ready for work. 10 minutes before I'm about to set off, my phone rings. It's one of the people looking for my dog. She's the niece of my mentor. She calls me and she says she got a tip from somebody in the area while she was driving her kids to school that there was a deceased dog on the side of the road. Not the thing you want to hear on a Monday, 10 minutes before you got to go to work. So I said, did she give you an address? And she goes, yes, I'll pin it to GPS for you. She did. I looked at it, and it was on the same street I had driven to look for him before midnight on the first day he went missing. And I thought, well, that's odd. And so I drove out there. And I drove around that pin for probably an hour. Never found him. Called the lady back. And I'm like, this woman who gave you the tip, you sure this is the right address? And she goes, yes. All right. Well, there's nobody here. She called the elementary school at the end of the street. She talked to the staff there. Don't ask me how this woman got connected to all these people. I have no idea. She calls the elementary school. 7 staffers answered saying that they drove that route to work. Still, I don't know how she found out, but that's how she found out. And nobody saw the dog on that street. Okay. So, I'm kind of frustrated and angry, but I'm curious why here. And she said, well, maybe he was just taking a breather and he got up and wandered off, which is why I drove around for an hour. Never found him. Came home, grabbed my mom, took her over to the spot, and I said, if you and Dad start looking for the dog, start here and work your way in circles out. She says, okay. I go to work. I get a call before lunchtime, noon. And it's my mentor's niece, and she said, the lady had the wrong address. It's 1 block west of that intersection. And I thought, okay. So I called my mom and I said, hey, have you been looking for the dog? And she goes, yes. I said, did you find him? No. Well, I got an update on the address. I will send it to you, put it in your GPS, and go there. Okay. Hang up. 20 minutes later, I call back. Did you go there? We're still in the driveway. We don't know how to program the GPS. Motherfucker. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, all right. And I close my eyes and I describe to my mom, who's now got me on speakerphone, and I instruct my dad turn for turn all the way to the spot that was described. That was 1 block west of the original place I was supposed to search. And I said, okay, do you see that street that you turned on earlier? Yeah. I'm like, just keep going, don't turn. And I counted about 6 seconds and I said, stop the car. And that would have put them 1 block west. And I said, do you see him? And then all of a sudden, I heard the most just disgusting, ugly crying scream and wail out of my mom. And my dad was freaking out because they just looked right over the window, almost as if I knew exactly where he was. And they were like, that's him. He's dead. And I hung up. I was like, that's all I needed to hear. I just hung up. I had to deal with the rest of the day on a Monday, swamped with work, knowing that they found my dog, who is now dead, who died because of their negligence, because he got out when I was at work. Needless to say, I was trying to figure out what they were going to do about it. Are they going to pick him up? Are they going to bring him home? Are they going to bury him? Yada yada. They call me back and they're like, aren't you coming home? And I said, no, I'm at work. I said, what did you do with the dog? And she goes, we brought him home. Okay. And she goes, your dad's going to bury him. And I said, good. And she goes, aren't you going to come help him? And I said, no. This is your mistake. This is your fault. You deal with it. Don't call me about this ever again. And I hung up. I was done with it because I am apocalyptically furious at them living under my roof, and then you had one job and you failed it and it got somebody killed. And what really sucks is I put down all my dogs when they have cancer or whatever. This is the first time I lost a pet that was perfectly healthy. And that's what makes it so maddening to me. So anyway, my mentor calls at about 4 o'clock and he was like, do you have an update? And I'm like, yeah, it was him. And so I got the, oh my God, I'm so sorry, from like everybody. And he said, you don't sound like you're in the right frame of mind right now. And a bunch of people did that here at the Discord, on my phone, in text messages. I think they thought I was going to go home and murder everybody. And he goes, I talked to my niece and I talked to the lost and found people. And he said, we're going to take it upon ourselves to go pick up your dog. You don't need to see this. I will handle the cremation arrangements and bring you the urn. And I thought, man, that's really awesome of him to offer that. So I said, okay, well, you might want to call my house first and make sure that they didn't bury him. He says, okay. Calls me back about 10 minutes later. He said he had a very awkward conversation with my mom and dad, and that they already said that he had buried him. I have not walked over to where my dad buried him. I refuse to go over there. I will not look over that spot. I will not stand there. I will not accept the fact that he's in there. I can't. It'll just piss me off. So, for me, mentally, Charlie is still out there somewhere, wandering around, or he's with somebody else. I know the reality of it's not true, but it's the only way I can keep myself from being a monster, which I already am. I mean, my mother's a wandering specter in this house. I won't even look at her, and I refuse to, and I probably never will again. I will let her exist here. The only rule I made after his disappearance is the word stupid, which she used to use a lot, is not allowed to utter or to just leak out of her face for the rest of my life. She can never use that word again. I have forbidden her from using that word if she ever speaks in my direction. That's the rule. My dad is very okay with that. So, all the doom and gloom aside, what had also happened was I won an auction for a 6-inch Colt Python, which I didn't think I was going to win, because these things have been being sold for prices that are halfway to the moon, which is ridiculous. I had been on a pre-order. If you guys seen the video that I put out last night, then you already know this. But I did a pre-order 21 and a half months ago with my local. Still hasn't fulfilled it. Pretty pissed. So I went ahead and took unilateral action and just bought one out of a shop in Pennsylvania. I got nothing to hide. I paid $1,525 for it. It was $144 tax. It was $45 shipping, and I had to pay a $30 transfer fee. So realistically, I'm in it for over $1,700, $1,750-ish. It is now technically the most expensive revolver I own. I got it, picked it up yesterday, and it was worth it. I love it. I absolutely adore this thing. And it sucks because one of the happiest days of my gun-owning life came after one of the most tragic days of my life. So that's why I said this whole week for me was bipolar. And somewhere in the middle of all that, my winter Spetsnaz gear shipped from Russia. I had bought the Russian Sober patch kit. See, the Spetsnaz has a military police. They're called Oman. And if you've ever seen, what movie was that? I just recently watched it. Black Widow. If you've ever seen Black Widow, you see the Oman guys in the movie. And yes, you can giggle and laugh. Their patch says homo in reverse on their back because the Cyrillic letter N is an H in English. So it says O-M-O-H instead of O-M-O-N. And I remember years back I saw this video of an American tourist seeing a Russian Oman officer, and he goes, "Check it out, it says homo." And the dude buttstock checked him right in the face. And the guy dropped like a fucking dead body and looked up like, "What'd you do that for?" And the Russian guy goes, "We understand English too, you moron." So I didn't want to get homo patches for my jacket. And what I found is they have a division, like a QRF, in their special police division called Sober, S-O-B-R, which looks like C-O-B-P in a way. But it's the same camo, same outfits. It's just they're like the elite of the elite of the elite. So I got that patch set also, so I could stick it on the jackets and stuff. That's on the way from Russia. And then my OKP7 is supposedly going to be here within the next 2 or 3 weeks, hopefully. And my AK sling plate that I ordered 2 weeks ago still hasn't shipped out of Dallas, Texas. What the fuck? What else do I got going on? I think that's it for purchases for now. I was going to go to the shop this morning where I placed my pre-order for my Python that never got delivered. I was going to have him move over my deposit to an Anaconda, which I know he has in stock, and then just thumb out like $1,600 cash and say, "I will be taking that now, and you will not be telling me no." But he's closed on Saturdays ever since COVID. So, no Anaconda until maybe Monday. And then that will most likely be the last thing I ever buy from that guy, because this was a real shit show in terms of I paid you and you didn't fulfill my order, and you were selling pre-orders for $4,000 on the website on the side while the rest of us were waiting for our shit that you
And
promised
that's
us.
why nobody was getting their pre-orders.
No, a lot of people did. A lot of people did. Uh, Originally, oh, you know what I forgot to do? I'm so ashamed. Let me fix this. Give me just a sec. Good morning to Gunpowder Beauty, by the way. I do see you there. I forgot to fix the chat box because I'm an idiot. Where is it? Where is it? Interactive side chat. No, not that one. YouTube side chat. So sorry, I forgot to fix that. Put this here and here. There we go. Now we can see you. Good morning, dear. All right, so, yeah, I'll probably pick up the Anaconda there and then not buy anything ever again from them because this is ridiculous. His transfers are $100, which is insane. And apparently, even though he's listed as the #1 person on the cult distributors list for my part of Texas, he can't get them. So he says. So, fuck him. Even though my dad and I have been shopping there for 40 years combined, fuck him. Not going to do it anymore. But I got a Python. It's really cool. I could tell that it copies the Smith & Wesson trigger action, though, because it only clicks 3 times when I cock the hammer back, and it dry fires beautifully. Which is nice. I did get the 6-inch because I'm Rick Grimes, bitch! And I do have the Swivel Holster. If you guys saw my video yesterday on Pwnery's firearm reviews, I did do a video on this, a quick and dirty. It is quite nice. And I'm happy with it. It's very heavy, but it's supposed to be. And I finally got to replace the 686-6 that I had, that I'd sold 2 years ago because I was planning on replacing it with this. So I finally got my 6-inch 357 replaced back in my possession, inventory, whatever you want to call it. Oh, I'm going to type out the explanation why the transfer was $100 since Gunpowder Beauty's watching. It was $100 or... Okay. There. So, yeah, it is highway robbery. He had a deal where you either spent $100 cash on their transfer, because he's a small shop, or you buy $100 worth of stuff in the store, and then you get a free transfer. So I thought, about 2 years ago when I was sending stuff to him on the regular, it was okay because I needed ammo or something anyway. So I went ahead and grit my teeth and did it. And after I did, I think 2019. I think it was 2019. I bought like 6 or 7 of the guns from SHOT Show 2019. By the 5th one, I said, you should really give me a free transfer on the next one with how much stuff I've done with you. He agreed to it. So I did get the Steyr L9A2 MF mouthful. I got that one with a free transfer just because I asked for it. But I wasn't going to make a habit of keep asking for it. I was like, no, you're either going to do this for me because I'm a regular, or you're not because you're shit. And guess what? I do have another FFL that also does my reloading supplies. $10. Transfers are $10. The only problem is he's an hour away, more than an hour away. That's a long commute in Houston. An hour in Houston is still only about 17 miles. That's a frustrating hour on the road. So I usually only go there when I need primers or gunpowder and die sets. Or more turrets for my All-American 8 turret press. But if I know I'm going to go there, like in a certain week, then yeah, I think I will send a transfer over there and just pick it up while I'm there. That'd be fine. My local guy now is a retired school bus driver, now Garage FFL, or he's always been a Garage FFL, and he's 5 minutes from my work. And he used to charge $20, but now he charges $30 because COVID and inflation. And he, as an incentive for people to go and get their LTC license, even though we're a constitutional carry state, if you go through the trouble of getting an LTC, he will honor the $20 fee instead. And I thought, not worth it. I'll just pay you $30. I don't care. It's cool. So yeah, I got 2 FFL options. So anything I buy, I can get it without having to go to my local shop that doesn't want to work with me. Which is a real shame because my original plan was to work with them on T&Es, and then so I don't have to buy all the guns I want to do videos on, because I don't intend to own half the guns that I would be willing to do. And that way I could just plug it, clean it, plug the shop, send it back to them, everyone's happy. But I don't think that's going to ever materialize. Actually, there is one other thing he's got that I want to buy, because I can't find it any cheaper. He has an artillery Luger with the stock for $2,500. There's no way I'm gonna get that anywhere else for that kind of price. So maybe I'll buy that from him. Maybe. Oh, and he's got a Larg Grizzly and 45 Remington Magnum, Winchester Magnum. It's a 45 Super plus P plus Bear Killer, yada yada.
Yeah.
But I think that's sold already, so I don't have to worry about that. And he has 3 Shadow 2s, but fuck him. So anyway, yeah.
He's got a few things you want, apparently.
Not anymore. So yeah, 6-inch Python, super happy. If you were on the fence about a wheel gun, don't be. Buy one of these. I just have this really strange suspicion that CZ's not gonna, they're gonna realize that Colt is not making them money. It's putting them in the hole, and they're just gonna get rid of it. Or Colt's just not gonna make these anymore soon. I hope I'm wrong. But I'm just going to buy the snake guns now before they ever make that announcement, so I don't have to worry about it. Because I missed the bus before, you know, when they stopped making the Python originally in like 99 or 2000, and then they skyrocketed over $4,000, I was pretty pissed. And then when The Walking Dead came out, and I saw Rick Grimes carrying one on a swivel holster, I'm like, I need that in my life. Yeah, I need that. Because, you know, most of my collection is guns from movies or TV shows, so I had to have this one. If you're wondering if that's the case, why do I want a 6-inch Anaconda? Stop, or my mom will shoot. Yeah, Estelle Getty carried a 6-inch Anaconda.
I heard it was snubby.
No. I mulled over the idea of getting an 8-inch Anaconda. But after holding this 6-inch one, I'm going to go the 6-inch Anaconda, because that's the one she carried anyway, and the 8-inch would just be ungainly long. Because I intend to carry this Python to work Monday. I'm going to wear the swivel holster Monday. The barrel sticks out like 2 inches off the bottom of the holster, but so did Rick's, so it is what it is, right? But yeah, I'm going to carry this. 6 inches is it. I was going to polish it out too, but it's pretty clean. I think I'm going to go out and shoot it a few times and then maybe hit it with the mothers and the Dremel with the buffer wheel. Calm down. But yeah, this thing is gorgeous. And I was telling Scott this morning that he commented that the crane, the inside of the frame where the crane meets the frame, you can see the machining marks. And it's true, but they machine this so finely that when I close the crane over the frame, the gap in the front of the gun, you can see the line, but you can't feel it with your finger. It's that well machined. They did a phenomenal job on fit and finish, actually. Mine's a 6-digit Python, so it's much later built than, say, Golden Web's. His is a 4-digit, and I thought, Jesus. But, honestly, I don't give a shit about serial numbers. Like, do you? If you want a gun, you want the gun. You don't give a crap when it was built. You just want that model gun, right? When I got my Savage 1907, I really wanted the early model with the big serrations on the back of the slide. But Destiny didn't give me one of those. It gave me a late model. Mine's made in, I think, 1917 or 1919. So it's got the fine serrations, which mechanically is better to grab and cock the gun, but, you know, I got the later model. But you know what? I could still tell people, hey, I got a Savage 1907 with a holster, too, mind you. It's really awesome. HVS, good morning. And he says that the Ruger GP100 snub nose is his preferred sidearm. Mine is a Smith & Wesson 327 Night Guard, which predates the 327 PD. The differences are, mine came with factory Pachmeyer boot grips, which I took off, and replaced with Smith & Wesson's X-Frame Hogue Tamer grip, and it holds 8 rounds of 357. It has a 2-inch barrel with a titanium insert plate underneath the forcing cone. The difference between mine and the PD is barrel length. So mine's a 2-inch, where I think Yankee's got a PD. I think his is like a 3 or a 4-inch, which I've got nothing against those. It's just I wanted the Night Guard because it was in From Paris with Love with John Travolta and John Rhys Davies. And I think, yeah, Travolta carried it, and then he gave it to John Rhys Davies to carry. And then there was a movie inconsistency. The first one, in the first part of the movie, it had 8 rounds. It was a 327. In the later part of the movie, it was a 3. What was the other one? The 7-shot, 386. So they had 2 Night Guards on set because they had an 8-shot in the beginning, and then later on, when John Rhys Davies reloads it, you can see 7 rounds on the cylinder. I'm like, wait a minute, how'd that happen? So I got the 8-round. That's my preferred snubby of choice, and I used to carry it. That used to be my summer carry because it fit the same holster that my Super Red Hawk Alaskan in 454 goes in. So I did have, that was my summer carry. And then I realized, wait a minute, if I was ever involved in a shooting and this gun gets taken into evidence, I just lost $1,400. So I stopped carrying it.
Oh, it's a little bit more than $1,400 now.
Yeah, I think the last time I looked, it was $3,500. I thought, okay, I did well. Investment piece, did very well.
No, the 7-round one that I found was only like $1,200.
Yeah, and that's a L-frame.
I should have bought it.
Do it.
Nah. It's probably gone by now. I haven't been back to that shop in like 2 months.
Nah, I'm not gonna twist your arm on that. Honestly, if you wanted a scandium frame 8-shot 357, the one I would recommend to my dying day is the, if you want the scandium frame one, is the TRR8. I still want one.
Nope, I've got my 357 Magnum picked out.
Manhuron?
Nope, it's a Smith & Wesson.
Mm-hmm.
I want a pre-Hillary hole Smith & Wesson Model 66 Combat Master.
Okay, so like a -2. That's fine. Those are
because
pretty common,
too.
too.
I like that frame size. I don't like the L or the X frames. They're too damn big.
Well, no. The L frame is the small one. The N frame is the big one.
The N frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you 6-rounder. That's fine. Actually, the 686 Plus or the 386 Night Guard, those are L frame too. So it would be the smaller one. Okay. So if I was to replace
686 Plus, which is essentially the same damn thing.
Yeah, they just time the cylinder different. So if I were to replace my Night Guard,
the triggers were nicer, and I think the quality control was a hell of a lot better than
possibly. If I were to get a replacement for my Night Guard, I think the one I would get is the Ruger Red Hawk 8-shot 357. I still want one.
That's a good choice.
It's expensive. Like when they first came out, they were $800. I haven't seen one for less than $1,000 now. But it's the same physical size and shape as my Alaskan. It's the same frame, large frame with the big top strap.
Yep.
Good looking gun. Unfluted cylinder, just like my 454, but the cylinder's not carpenter steel because it doesn't need to be. Really good looking though. That's still on my to-do list. I thought I was done with wheel guns after the Anaconda, but I still got to get the TRR8 because Maggie carried it in The Walking Dead, and I always wanted one anyway. And I also want that 8-shot Ruger 357. I still like it. And it's got really nice rosewood grips, which is cool. So I'm not done with wheel guns just yet. And if a Century Arms Model 100 ever pops up, I'm going to grab that too, obviously. Oh, I forgot. The thing about the Anaconda that I'm going to do sort of unique is I'm not sure, I don't think there's not really enough real estate to do this now that I'm looking at this gun, but I had this crazy idea of having Estelle Getty's face laser engraved on the side plate of the Anaconda. Because Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. I always thought that was a cute movie. Especially how she got the gun. Because the actor who plays this big badass biker, like, you could tell the dude, his normal demeanor, he's like, the guy's a teddy bear. And sure enough, in the movie, he acts like a badass until she, like, swats him on the head. She's like, that's very rude. And he becomes all meek. And she takes the gun from him. And that's the one she carries in the movie. So, I thought about it. If I can find a guy that can laser engrave it properly, I might still do that, just for laughs. People would be like, why do you have Estelle Getty on the side of your gun?
I would probably call up Colt and be like, I need an extra side plate.
That's a possibility. Because...
that way you don't fuck up the original. And
yeah.
if he does not do it to your satisfaction, you didn't ruin the side plate from the
I can ask. I can definitely ask. Because the side plate that has the Colt logo is the only place I could have it done. Because if I did it on the frame on the right side and they screwed it up, it'd be stuck there forever like a bad tattoo. So yeah, I'll look into that. Maybe that's a possibility. I could just swap the side plates, willy-nilly.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be cool. All right, I'll consider that. And then I'm in an auction right now for a Dryza 32 caliber pistol because I just think they're cool because they're weird. And
I'm watching a few CZ70s/52.
I found 50s. I think it was a model 52. Was that the Tokarev caliber one?
No, the one I'm looking at is the tiny little one. That's
okay.
32 ACP.
Well, there's a CZ I ran into yesterday. I think it was either 52 or 57 or something like that.
52 is the Tokarev model.
That's okay. That's the one then, because it's kind of got a weird angular shape to the underside of the frame.
Yes, it's got a big ass grip on it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's the one.
Very blocky.
And it's got this really weird metal clip that holds the grips on. It horseshoes around the back of them or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm looking at a couple of those too, just because I thought, oh, it's kind of quirky and interesting. If I can get one for like $250, I'll take it.
Here's the thing about that gun that you probably didn't know. That gun originally was intended to be a 9mm. But because Soviet Union, they made them rechamber it to 7.62 Tokarev.
You will do it in our caliber, or you will wear your wife's head as a head.
That's where the VZ58 comes in too.
Got it. What was that rifle that I saw the other day that I really liked? The 8mm Yugo something or other?
Oh, the M72? M75? It's the 8mm version. It's
76 or it's up there.
M76. Yes, that's it.
M76. I want that. HVS says he gets
an 8mm.
He gets strapped up. It's not because of a movie. Oof. That's correct. My carry pistols are not movie pistols. Well, they used to be.
Most of them.
Most of my carry pistols now are not from a movie, so I sort of have deviated from that collection mantra. I carry a 43X. Sometimes I carry a 380 Easy Shield. Sometimes I carry a Smith & Wesson 4006 TSW or a 5906. Once in a blue moon, I'll carry my Hudson or my Jericho 941. One time I did carry my Walther Mouthful, but it's so heavy. It's so damn heavy. And I don't have a holster that fits it very well, so I'm probably not going to ever carry that. Besides, if it ever got confiscated for evidence, I'd probably be suicidal for how much I paid for it, with the SRO still attached to it. I do shoulder rig my Rock Island 10mm though. It used to go into a hip holster, but it fits better and carries better in the shoulder rig. So I took the 4006 out of the shoulder rig, and now the 2011 sits in there, which is a nice place to put it. But anyway, I'm Rick Grimes, bitch. Anyway, I can't stop saying that ever since I got this thing. I'm just like, I'm Rick Grimes, bitch. But
Or
yeah,
you another Rick.
yeah.
Bitch.
No, no,
Yeah.
no. He's got. Actually, he bought a gun that I told him to buy a couple years back.
Shockingly.
And no, I envy him for it because I still haven't got one, and I still haven't found one locally for sale anymore. I still do want the 1875 Remington Outlaw. I do. Uh,
Oh, yeah. That
Tony
one.
has two of them.
I thought you might have been talking about the AR you forced him to buy.
Oh no, 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 no. I didn't. You know what's funny? I didn't. I wasn't part of that conversation. Actually, we talked about it for years before, and the way I kept trying to like enroll him in the idea was he didn't like the way they look. He's like, I don't like the way ARs look. And I said, but that's the beauty of an AR-15 is it's Legos for adults. You can make it look any way you want. You can build it to your specification. If you want it to look a certain way, if you don't want it to look a certain way, you can build it any way you want. Matter of fact, I'm uh, I'm currently in the middle of building a 12.5-inch AR-10 with an Elcan Spectre DR on top of it, and it's my door kicker, close quarters 308 essentially, fireball. And then after that, I haven't decided which I'm going to do first, but I'm leaning towards the PTRD. So I want to build a 24-inch AR-15 in 350 Legend, and then I'm going to put the Boyd's autumn camo blitz furniture on it. So it's a laminate wood stock set that's black, silver, burnt orange, and like weathered gray. I think it's going to look really good. And then I've got this Strike Industries cookie cutter break that Jaime was graciously enough to send me that I have to drill out the bore hole a little bit bigger so a 375 will pass through it. But I'll put that on the end of the barrel so it kind of looks like an old Russian anti-tank rifle. And I've got this monstrous 56 millimeter objective scope that's going to go on it. It's like a 4 by 24 by 56. It's huge. So I mean that thing will look the part. Even though 350 Legends only good out to about 500-600 yards. But I built that one for fun too. And I just put like a Harris or an Atlas bipod on it. It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be a long boy, just like my other AR-10. But I want to do that. I want to do a Boyd stock set on at least one. And that's a good example of you can make it look any way you want. The other build I want to do, I'm still looking for the guy who did it, just in case if he makes parts. I'm going to build a 10 millimeter Thompson off of an AR frame. Like that's gonna happen. I'm still gonna do that with an echo trigger or an FRT if they're still around. Oh, that's the other thing. Okay, so I'm going to do this quick and then we'll go to the stories because I've already burned an hour of your time. I am now immune from the ATF. As crazy as that sounds, I am immune from the ATF. They cannot come and murder my dogs because my mother did it for them. I know that's morbid and that's terrible to say, but I'm trying to look on the bright side. The ATF cannot kill my dogs. Anyway.
So you do have spare ones.
Yeah, I do. If you're in the Southeast Texas area and you're looking for a Yorkshire Terrier puppy, I have one available. Technically, I had 4, but 2 of them are sold already. I have 1 male available. I do have 1 female. She did hit the color lottery. She has 4 colors. She's going to be black, brown, blonde, and white. So I think she's going to look like s'mores, which is going to be cool. And she has white socks. So I nicknamed her Betty White. If I keep her, she will be Betty. Which is still a world conqueror, because I thought she was the second to last Highlander on Earth next to Keith Richards. That's the first time I remembered his name without having to think about it. Anyway, so yeah, I have a male Yorkshire Terrier puppy for sale if you're interested. If you're within a reasonable amount of distance, I may work out delivery with you. I cannot ship you a dog across state lines. The risk is too great. So that would be a no. If you want to buy him and I can deliver him to you at Wanamaker, I will consider that. I'm still on the fence if I'm going this year. If I have a dog sold and I need to bring him to you at Wanamaker, I can do that. Boy, is that going to be a weird road trip. Anyway, we have stories for you today. We have 6. I have 6 stories for you, despite this long intro and this long week in review. Personals, sorry, and thank you for tolerating us for that. And as Gunpowder Beauty said, serial numbers don't mean jack when it comes to wanting a specific model of gun. She's absolutely right. And the way I look at it, the newer and further down the serial number you go, the more likely you have the early teething pains and growing pains worked out, as mine does. It has the 2 crane marks, so it is repaired before it was sent out. If you guys didn't know, Python's triggers didn't quite work very well in double action, and they found that it was a screw and side plate issue. That has been corrected. If you check my video, you will see a still shot of the inside of the crane and what the 2 proof marks look like. So if you are in the market to buy a Python and you see those 2 marks, you will know exactly what to look for. But yeah, if you want a Python, I would highly encourage you to get one. These things are just works of art. All right, so like I was saying, we have 6 stories for you today. And did I do this in the form of I'm going to take you on a trip like before? I don't think so. I'm not sure. Well, let's try it anyway. So our first story, I'm going to take you on a trip to Russia. Actually, I'm going to take you on a trip to where Russia borders with the Ukraine. And this story came out of the State Department. And Blinken is saying that they have already started making calls to the Ukrainian embassy, and they've made a declaration that if you are an American citizen in the Ukraine, to leave immediately because invasion is imminent. Now, Scott and I have sort of been banging around back and forth on this in terms of, is Russia going to actually go through with this, or are they just pulling and posturing like they did in Georgia? That situation, they had mounted troops near the border, and I don't think they ever actually stepped across it. They just did it as posturing. The difference between what happened in Georgia and what's happening in the Ukraine is not only did they amass, I think it's 62 or 64 full battle group battalions around the border, they have also mobilized the Navy off the Ukrainian coast, and they have moved doctors, medics, medical supplies, and plasma to the front at the border. If you're posturing, you don't move blood. You just don't. Because blood has to be stored at a certain temperature. You don't want to move it unless you absolutely need it. They've already made those arrangements. If this is posturing,
Well,
this is posturing on a grand scale.
it's Putin, so it is.
Well, that's the thing, though.
Also, half the troops, they only have about 70% of the troops they need to actually invade Ukraine. And unless they're planning on invading from Belarus, however the fuck you say
Belarus?
his name. Belarus. Because there's quite a few troops in that country. So
Sure.
unless they're willing to put that country in peril and have that country basically be destroyed by sanctions, along with Russia from Europe and the United States, because that's what will happen. You will see any business with Russia done if they invade Ukraine.
Okay, so Scott doesn't think they're going to invade. And
I could be wrong.
You've got good reason. This is why I think they are, though. All the movement, troop movements, Navy, medical supplies, that's the first thing. Second thing is, unlike Georgia, Vladimir Putin believes that the Ukraine belongs to Russia. He wants to own it. and have it back. And for some reason, he is obsessed with the world recognizing Russia as a European nation, even though he's not. Like, if you look at the architecture and the business platforms and the way that the country is run in their major cities, he's imitating European culture. He wants it. He wants the world to think that they are just like them, as if their standard of living is not inferior, or that they match parity with European culture. It's an ego thing. Like, he doesn't feel like he's good enough. It's almost like an inferiority complex in a way, which is strange because as a national leader, the guy's awesome. I mean, he's action man. He jumps in submarines and looks at shipwrecks. He rides horses and wrestles bears and shit. Like, the dude he is out Blofelded Blofeld. So it's like, you got all this going on, and then imagine if you're the president of the Ukraine right now. Because half of your population are treasonous. Because almost half the population of the Ukraine want to rejoin the Soviet Union. So you've got battalion after battalion on your border. You've got the Navy at your port of retreat, essentially. And half your country is working against you.
No, that's bullshit. That's propaganda.
Part of it is, but there is a large contingency of people in the Ukraine who would be perfectly happy with the fact that the Russians took back over. They're pro-Russia.
No, there's a percentage of them that don't give a fuck. And
Right.
then you have a very large percentage who hate Russians with an absolute passion.
Okay, so let's say we split it into thirds then. Third fence sitter, third pro-Ukraine, third pro-Russia. That's still a fractured nation. They're not unified in their goal of defending the nation as a sovereign country.
They don't have to be.
They kind of do.
Because if Putin invades, what you're going to see is asymmetric warfare, and it's going to turn into Afghanistan.
Maybe. So here's okay, I know what you're saying, because Afghanistan was a bunch of tribal conflicts. I get that.
No, it's going to turn into Afghanistan where the Russians are just going to randomly getting killed.
Maybe.
It's
I mean, you got to
all gonna
remember,
be fucking terrorist actions, basically.
you have to remember, though, during all this buildup, they've been doing, quote, exercises, and yet Ukrainian state TV says that their soldiers are getting wounded by stray
Yes.
fire across the border.
Yeah, and you know why the Ukrainians aren't shooting back?
No idea.
They're not giving in to the Russians' provocations.
Maybe.
So they're not allowing Putin to engineer a reason to go into the country.
Oh, we came in because they shot back. Okay, I'll give you that.
Well, not even that. They were shooting at us, so we had to invade.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
That's
All right,
why
so
they're being
HVS
very,
is
very
saying
restrained.
HVS is sort of saying the thing that I had said like 2 or 3 weeks ago. He says that World War III starts after the Olympics. Banking the collapse is imminent. Other than that, there's nothing to worry about. Other than that. My original theory was that China and Russia were going to, because they're collaborating. Let's not kid ourselves. They're collaborating. They hold high-level meetings between each other constantly because our intel community even says so, right? So let's just say that, I had this theory that what was going to happen during the opening ceremonies while the entire world was distracted watching that. The Russians cross over, the Chinese start attacking Taiwan. Well, the problem is if the Chinese attack Taiwan during the opening ceremonies, it's happening literally right near where this is all happening for the Winter Olympics. The implications and the media fallout would be insane. But this is China we're talking about. So maybe they would have the audacity to do that and then lock everyone down in Olympic Village and inter them as political prisoners until the conflict was over. Don't put it past
China.
China.
The entire world.
Of course.
Them.
That's the point, though. They don't care.
No, I mean everyone.
I get that.
Them.
They still don't care. It's like, remember in World War II, B-29 pilots would fly over Japan, do their bombing run, and if they were damaged, they would continue on and land in Vladivostok because they couldn't make it back to Guam or whatever, right?
Hmm.
or Iwo Jima or whatever. They would land planes in Russia, and then the Russians would inter the airmen and not return them until the war was over.
That only happened to like half a dozen
This
beach
still
planes.
happened regardless, though.
It still happened.
And what is China doing? They're playing the Japanese war playbook right now. The way that they've been messing with Southeast Asia and the island countries, the way that they've been threatening Australia, the way that they've been lobbing artillery. I mean, it's like,
And how did that end for Japan?
wow.
We know how that ended for Japan.
Right, but this time we have this mutually assured destruction thing going on. It's like war changes dramatically when nukes are involved, or the
Let's
possibility
put it
of
like
nukes.
this. At best, China might be able to hit the West Coast.
They have, well,
Is
we
there
talked
any
about this
great
yesterday.
loss there?
They have rocket artillery that covers the entire island. So it's a case of Patriot missiles versus Scud missiles, essentially, again.
And you don't think Taiwan can hit that?
Well, they did reactivate a very old, derelict World War II piece of field artillery that they said they can shoot back with.
Missiles.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure, but how many are they going to have?
We've sold them quite a lot.
Sure, but okay, look, real estate-wise, right? How many missiles can you put on that island compared to how much military hardware China can just put in their coast?
You could put a significant amount to do a significant amount of damage to Chinese cities.
Or defense, but like HVS is saying, that's World War III, right? So you've got two fronts, China with Taiwan and Russia with the Ukraine. Now the only thing that's really missing in this whole scenario is a pinprick event in a place that nobody was thinking about to trigger it all. You know, like I'm saying about World War I kicking off, about how, was it Franz Ferdinand was assassinated or whatever?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was a guy in a pinprick country that nobody was paying attention to that gave everyone else the excuse to kick off a world war. That's how World War I started. That's kind of how World War II started, sorta. Maybe not.
No.
Korean
not
conflict, So, my theory with that is Saudi Arabia attacks the Yemenis because they've already been skirmishing before, right? Saudi attacks Yemen. That's the excuse. That's what they need. Something like that. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. That's the first story in the books. Attack is imminent. Where are you on this? Leave a comment below. Do you think the Russians are going to attack? Do you think the Chinese are going to attack? When do you think they're going to attack? Let's have an over-under. We'll put that up on the board. We'll run a gamble. We'll try to figure it out. I thought it was the opening ceremonies. Now I'm kind of in the same boat with HVS. Maybe it'll happen during the closing ceremonies. Who knows? That would be symbolic. Closing ceremonies, Olympic Games, after all this bullshit about human atrocities, and then all of a sudden, the People's Liberation Army surround Olympic Village and say, "You are not to leave here. You're not to step one step outside of this village, or we will shoot you. You will stay here until we let you leave," and then begin their attack. I would not put it past them. They can turn off the internet in their entire country out of their country or inbound. They can do that. They can surround one little Olympic village and keep everyone hostage. They could do that too. Yes, they would be sanctioned. Yes, there would be an emergency NATO meeting. Yes, they will still roll the fuck over, won't they? Anyway. Next story. Let's move on to Russia again. Now, this is more funny, but this is sort of that nervous, he's going to kill us kind of funny laugh, right? Here we go. This is your story, Scott. A teenager in Russia has been sentenced to 5 years prison, IRL, for plotting to destroy the FSB building in Minecraft. Not even the real building. Now, I've browsed over this story a bit. And what I think is sort of similar to was it the MH370, the missing airplane? Remember that? It flew out of Australia heading towards China and it just vanished and they never
Yep.
found it. And I've been saying for years that it's 1,000 miles off the coast of Sri Lanka because if you look at tidal tables and the way that Indian Ocean current flows, all the debris that they found for a plane that matches the description of MH370 washes up on exactly the correct shores for that current. Anyway, that aside, that pilot who was tasked with flying that plane, they found a full plane simulator in his apartment. He had like, I guess X-Plane, or I think it was X-Plane he was running, because that's a very intricate simulator with all the gear and equipment to, make it a very enriching experience. I have a very basic rudimentary setup with like SciTech stuff, but his was like really, really detailed. I'm thinking that the Russians arrested this kid because he was using Minecraft as a training tool to sort of work out his game plan. They caught wind of it and then came to his place and arrested him and probably found other tangible evidence saying that, no, this guy was going to do this in real life too. But if not, I mean, how ridiculous is this? I bombed a building in a video game. I mean, this is almost like Al-Qaeda would have arrested Matt Stone and Trey Parker for doing that fucking South Park movie where the devil's banging Osama bin Laden or whatever, right? It's like the same thing, right? They would freaking attack them or arrest them and execute them for that. And the Russians are doing this over a video game. It's kind of crazy. Anyway, 5 years, real prison for a video game explosion. Does that mean we go and arrest, like, I don't know, if you worked for Treyarch, or was it Infinity Ward, do you not step foot in Russia ever because you'll get arrested for that mission called No Russian? You remember that? It's like Modern Warfare 2 or 3 or something like that. And you did that one mission where you're wearing a Juggernaut suit and you're carrying an M249 saw and you're in a Russian airport and you murder everybody. Yeah. Do you think the programmers for that game never, ever, ever step foot in Russia because they don't want to get arrested for that? This kid was playing Minecraft. Give me a break. Moving right along. We're going to travel to Missouri. Taking to Missouri. Fun fact, many, I'm not going to say all, many B-2 stealth bomber missions that were flown during the Persian Gulf conflict flew out of Missouri. They took off from Missouri. I think it was a 70 or a 76-hour round-trip combat mission. West to east, attack targets in the Middle East, turn around, come home. B-2 stealth bombers, Missouri. Kind of cool. Anyway, this story's not quite as cool. This story's kind of going to piss you off. The McCloskeys are back in the news. Remember these guys? This guy and his wife? Guy carrying an AR, wife carrying a pistol that didn't even work. Waved him in front of protesters. Sorry, they weren't protesters, were they? No, they were arsonists and vandals that broke into a gated community. That's what they actually were. Right? Remember those guys?
Yep.
Yeah. Remember the fact that they won their case? Remember the fact that the guy got his gun back, I think? Right? He got his gun back. Or he just bought another one. Whatever. Either way. Missouri State Supreme Court has suspended their law licenses. Post facto. Why?
Wait for them to sue.
Oh, that's coming. Oh, you better believe
yes.
That's coming.
Because obviously politically motivated.
Yeah. So the reason I put this story here was because I'm going to take you down this rabbit hole theme of having your life taken from you for exercising your constitutional or civil rights. That's what these people did. They defended their life, their liberty, and their property in a gated community to keep protesters at bay from destroying their life's work, right? Same thing that any one of you would probably do. And they were wrongly prosecuted. And they were found innocent. It was dismissed, clearly. And now the state Supreme Court is denying their law licenses for doing that, for defending their life, liberty, and property. You know,
the funny thing is, the only ones that can actually truly suspend their law licenses are the bar.
Well, the state Supreme Court has to sign off for the license, don't they?
No. It's the State Bar Association.
I have a funny feeling that the Supreme Court trumps that.
How the Supreme Court got involved in this, I don't know. Or how it got brought to the Supreme Court. You know what I mean?
I suspect that trumps the bar. Because the Supreme Court is the end-all, be-all of law, right? At a state level. Which means everybody answers to them ultimately. They probably set the standards for the bar. You know what I mean? Like, if this was the NBA, the Supreme Court is the commissioner. And the bar is like the owners, the owners union or whatever. Players union and owners union. That's what the bar exam people are like. That group. But these guys are the commissioner. Anyway, the reason I brought up this story about your civil rights being trampled on and then having your life taken away from you for defending your property is because the next story I have, the caption that I've got for the next story is Pwnery calls it. I called it. I think it was yesterday. I created 2 burner accounts yesterday. One on Facebook, one on Twitter. And what I had done was I had read the story about the Freedom Convoy for the United States was going to mobilize and begin their protest today, February 12th, today. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun being a guy like Scott who wants to sip on his bourbon on his front porch and watch the world burn? Wouldn't it just be a little fun if I were to get into the ears of said protester group and say, brother, I'm with you. And you guys need a ring general. And as a ring general, I'm going to suggest that you take your protest to the biggest venue on earth to make a statement. Take your trucks and block every entrance and exit to the Super Bowl.
Now,
do not let the teams in. Do not let the players in. Do not let the fans in. Do not let the media in. Bankrupt the Super Bowl by choking the life out of it. I did that as a joke. I got 3,600 likes in 7 minutes, and then the burner account was banned. On Twitter, it lasted 12 minutes. And it had I think 30,000 likes and 1,500 retweets. Because people agree. So anyway, the story is, Pwnery calls it. DHS moves to counter truck convoy in the U.S. ahead of Super Bowl Sunday. Where did they get... I'm on a list, apparently.
Yeah, you're on a list, all right. But see, if the truckers were smart, they would go to 1 or 2 locations that would have a much more significant effect.
No, the Super Bowl is it. The whole world is watching.
Could you imagine the chaos that would be caused if Washington, D.C. was blockaded?
Wouldn't happen. Look what happened. It'd be Insurrection Chapter 2.
Or blockade New York City.
Nope. Same thing. Insurrection Chapter 2. You can't block New York City. No way. I mean, it'd be easy to choke the streets of Manhattan, yes, without a doubt. But
no, you could choke off the entire city.
No.
Because the amount of bridges.
It's still got to be the Super Bowl. It's still got to be the Super Bowl. Because 140-something countries air that on Sunday, right? You make a point by choking out a sporting event that is an optional entertainment thing, you ruin everyone's fun on a Sunday. You see what I'm saying? You're not trying to cripple the economy at the New York Stock Exchange, because that hurts everybody. You're not trying to rile up and fire up Democrats about Insurrection 2.0 in Washington. It has to be the Super Bowl, because the eyes of the world would be watching. And that's going to trigger copycat groups all across the world that are having the same problem with their logistics industries. I mean, think about it. The Canadians did it. We copied it. We do it at the Super Bowl with 4 billion people watching it happen, and angry CNN screaming, "They're taking away our fun!" You took away our fucking country, asshole. You took away our way of life. Kiss my ass, you know? So, yeah. They have Sleepy Joe and his freaking army of power-abusing miscreants. He has weaponized the Department of Homeland Security. Did he do that when cities were burning all across the country for civil rights protests or police brutality? I don't think so. This?
Oh, it's funny how all that shit died down after he was elected, isn't it?
Nah, sort of. Sort of.
But now they're
yeah.
eating their own.
See, but the thing is this plus, if you've been watching the way he's been reacting to the media who call him out on inflation, and then he's going to do this after that? I mean, how is this guy not even in single-digit approval yet? His own party don't like him. No, he's still like 29% or something.
Media polls are manipulating the polls.
Maybe, but he's still in the low, like upper 20s or low 30s. Thing is like, if you're still supporting this administration, if you're part of that 29%, you need to be lobotomized. For real. Like, apparently common sense has eluded you. Or you live in a police state bubble where they change your diapers for you and keep the lights on, as long as you keep sucking on the government teat, which makes you useless to the rest of us, who are probably paying your bills. Anyway, I called it. They're gonna try to stop the convoy from blocking the Super Bowl. I truly hope, at the bottom of my heart, I hope you guys fail miserably, and I hope that trucker convoy blocks the Super Bowl, and I hope it's delayed or canceled. I hope the National Felons League loses $1 billion in commercial revenue for it. I really do, because fuck them. Like, why bother? Why support somebody who supports child abusers and fucking this administration? Like, no, just no. If I could spray paint the word "no" on a hammer and then hit somebody across the head with it, no. Anyway, done. Next story.
Yeah.
I'm going to take you to Texas. You're coming to my state, my lovely 21st constitutional carry adopting state, with a border that's got a wide open screen door. Sorry for that. Sorry for that. My governor did everything he could to seize the assets and the building materials for the wall, only to be stymied by the state Supreme Court of liberals. Sorry. He's trying. Anyway, welcome back to Texas. I'm going to take you here. And I'm not going to use his culturally appropriated bullshit name, because none of us should. The media shouldn't, you shouldn't, I shouldn't, nobody should. His name is Robert. Every time I say this, I think of fucking Deadpool. Francis for Ajax. You know where I'm going with this, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
His name is Robert Francis O'Rourke. See? They got it right. I think I got this story out of Truth About Guns. They write it correctly, maybe because I kept smashing their comment section with "stop calling him his bullshit nickname," which is at the top of the headline. He is a 4th generation Irish immigrant. There is not a single drop of blood There's not a single DNA flag in his entire body that's Latino. Not one. The only time he has Latino material on him is if he scratches someone's back or pats him on the shoulder, and it's by contact only. This guy is not Latino. He's a goddamn fraud. And if you needed more proof that he's a fraud, just remember when he ran for president, he was going to take away the AR-15. He was going to ban assault rifles. He was coming for your guns. Well, until yesterday. Now all of a sudden he says, hell yeah, we need to protect the Second Amendment. I'm not going to take your AR-15s. Why is that, Francis? How come all of a sudden, after being a third-time loser, did you believe that you don't need to take away our AR-15s? Could it be because your party is about to get decimated, like if they were at Little Bighorn come November, that the voting Indians are going to circle the wagons and destroy your party utterly and poke your ears out with arrows to remind you to listen to the messages we've been telling you when you reach the afterlife? True story, by the way. That's what the Indians did at Little Bighorn. They took their arrows and they punctured the eardrums of all the dead soldiers, including Custer, because they believed that if your ears were open, you will heed the warnings of the Indian people that were talking to you in the afterlife. Pretty, really cool story. There was a made-for-TV movie series in the late 80s called Son of the Morning Star. I have it. And it is the story of Little Bighorn from start to finish. And they show that scene at the end, and it was hard to watch. And it was on regular network TV in the 80s. I remember seeing that. I was fascinated with it. Coincidentally, that was one of the only times Rosanna Arquette was stunningly gorgeous, too. I digress. So, yeah. He doesn't want to take away your guns all of a sudden. Who does this please? Think about this objectively. Texas is a red state that is bleeding an alarming shade of purple in its population centers, as liberalism typically does. The capital city, blue. Dallas, blue. Houston, ashamedly, blue. El Paso, blue. I think Corpus Christi or San Antonio is sort of blue, purple. Fort Worth, I think, has an independent mayor. It's like diet blue, right? And then the rest of the state's all red. So by this guy, a Democrat, saying that, no, we need the Second Amendment. I'm going to protect it. I'm not taking your AR-15s. Who is he appeasing here? He's not going to grab Republican voters. Not even Republican fence sitters. Because anybody with a brain cell between their ears realizes he failed running for the House, he failed running for the Senate, he failed running for the presidency, and now he's going to fail trying to run for governor for the fourth time. The world is trying to tell you something. We don't want you. We don't like you. Go away, you fucking fraud. You're not Mexican. Piss off. Douchebag. Fuck him. Got any thoughts on that prick?
Why is his party even allowing him to run and backing him? Being a three-time loser to begin
with. They got
with.
Nobody to back right now. I mean, think about how disorganized the Democratic Party is right now. Look at the laundry list of staffers quitting under Kamala Harris. Think of how defensive and angry Biden is during press conferences. Think about the fact that Stacey Abrams in Georgia is getting wrecked left and right because of her photo ops where she's not wearing a mask. Or the fact that Nancy Pelosi is getting wrecked because now she's trying to say, okay, we can limit congressional people's investment choices, but ... enter your bullshit here. She's trying to sound like she's making concessions. She's trying to sound like she's compromising. No, she's still trying to cover her ass. I mean, that party is a joke. Hillary Clinton is trying to make another run. Think about that. This woman's neck looks like an elephant's nutsack now. We've been talking about forcing, the GOP has made a demand that Joe Biden goes and takes a cognitive ability mental screening exam. The first president to do that was Donald Trump, who voluntarily did it to prove to his detractors that he's fine. Biden's 79. He's not that far behind Trump, age-wise, a couple of years. And he won't go do it. Or his handlers won't let him go do it. Hillary Clinton, she'll never do it. She'll say she'll do it, and then all the people at the examination screening will die mysteriously of suicide. And then she'll be like, well, I tried, but they all died. I don't know. She was trying to equate something that Trump kept out of the media. I think it was yesterday. She's trying to fight and argue that the thing that Trump did to keep his name out of a certain story in the media is equal to the fact that she had private servers and she destroyed all her evidence. Not even close. Not even close. But you guarantee CNN was probably cupping her ball sack. They were just like, yep, go ahead, teach us, oh queen of the lizard people. Guide us back to success. Oh, you know what? They can't. Because CNN got bought out. The fourth largest investor of Facebook bought CNN. You know what makes that really interesting? He's also one of Donald Trump's biggest financial backers. How's that for a poke in the nose? Facebook investor. Zuckerberg. Chicom wife. Bankrolled them. Now bought CNN. Trump supporter. What do you think he's going to do with CNN? I'm thinking Judge Doom, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? I bought the red car so I could dismantle it. Remember that scene? He had a vision. The highway, the interstate highway system. Remember that? I know it's an old movie, but I think he bought CNN to destroy it. Honestly. But then again, you don't buy things to lose money. Maybe he'll rebuild it. In his image? I don't know. Will it go lib? You don't think so. I mean, he's a Trump supporter, right? Financial Trump supporter. He was the fourth largest investor of Facebook. That can't be cheap. It's political suicide in a way. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know if we can trust him.
His money seems trustworthy. I mean, you can see where it went. That's easy enough. Following the money.
When you're a multi-billionaire, your motives are very hard to discern. You would think Elon Musk would be a Trump supporter with what he's been doing lately. But can you trust him on that?
Well, some people's motives are telegraphed. George Soros, for instance.
Yes.
Bill
That's
Gates,
a known
for instance.
quantity.
Bill Gates, for instance.
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos is sort of a gray area, isn't he?
He's definitely a lib.
Well, I mean, he leans both ways sometimes, depending on what you're asking him.
Yeah, because what's his financial interest?
I want to put people in space.
No, I want to make Amazon. I want to make billions more dollars.
Well, he has to. He lost half of it to his wife. He's got to make that back, right? I mean, it's just fact.
If he's going to have any hope of catching up to Elon Musk.
Well, yeah, and that's the joke. There was a war called the Battle of the Blofelds between Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos.
Bezos lost.
I don't know. I think they both did. I think Vladimir Putin is the ultimate Blofeld, honestly. I really do.
He's not a multi-billionaire.
He's one of the richest people on Earth, Vladimir Putin.
And Elon Musk is the richest person on Earth.
Let me look this up real quick. I know the number is staggering.
It's ridiculously staggering. And I believe he outranks everybody by quite a bit now. But I could be wrong.
Vladimir
I know it is all
Putin's net
tied
worth is
into
over
his-
200 billion.
Yeah.
That makes him one of the richest people
And what's
on Earth.
Elon Musk?
Let's take a look. Elon Musk.
I'm guessing almost worth $1 trillion.
249.4 billion. So he's slightly above. Jeff Bezos,
Yeah,
184.
How did Putin get all that money?
Because he's the president
he likes
of Russia.
to brag. Well, he likes to brag that, after communism fell, he was driving a cab in Moscow to make ends meet.
I don't buy that. Not for a bit. I don't buy
That's
it.
what he claims.
Yeah, I know, but I don't buy it. What it is it's his way of propagandaing himself as a humble person from humble beginnings. No, this guy was part of the KGB, right? No, never.
He was the head of the KGB.
Yeah, you think the head of the KGB would drive a cab? Are you kidding? Not unless it was a Gaz Chaika with 5 executed political dissidents in the trunk. That's the only way he'd be driving a cab. I mean, okay, he's got $68 billion more net worth than Bill Gates. He has $16 billion more than Jeff Bezos. So the only person that he's actually neck and neck with in the Battle of the Blofelds is Elon Musk. And you don't think for a fact that he can't scratch up another $50 billion to top him? Wait till he takes over the Ukraine. Ha ha! There you go. Maybe that's why he's taking it. Anyway, I just thought that was funny. Okay, so my last story for you of the day, because I'm getting hungry. I got lasagna in the oven. So I titled this, Give the People a Reminder of Why Apple is the Master Race. I'm such a bastard. Now let me preface this by saying, I graduated high school in 1997. That makes me 42 years old today. Going on 43. By the time I had graduated high school, 2 of my friends in my graduating class had a cell phone. I didn't. I thought they were prohibitively expensive, and I didn't really have a use for it at the time. Then I sort of fell behind, and I didn't get my first phone until 2008. So by then I was, 29? Something like that? 28 or 29. It's also that was also at the same time I bought my first gun, my Walther PPK, 2008 or 9. And it was an iPhone, 3G. And at the time, it was the greatest thing since sliced bread, It was like flip phones were, I didn't want to sit there and push the number pad 50 times to send, a 5-word text. And it wasn't really touchscreen, so that was kind of out. Although my friend was carrying a Motorola Razr at the time. I thought the flip was cool, but useless in terms of smartphone. Palm, I think, still barely existed, but it was on the way out. Nokia brick phones were being used to repave the Roman Empire, their road network, or being used as bulletproof vest material. Let's see, there was Primeco, there was Ariel, there was US Cellular, and there was a bunch of weird little guy carriers, and it was stupidly expensive. Anyway, so I got the 3G, loved it. Waited 3 years, 2 or 3 years, upgraded to the 4S, which was a little more svelte, but the same size. At this time, I think Samsung was making the Galaxy Note, or just beginning to, and I was screaming at the top of my lungs, why don't you make a Note-sized phone, you idiots, at Apple? Then the 5 came out, and the 5S came out, and I skipped them because they still weren't the right size. They were longer, but they were still narrow. And then the 6S Plus came out, and they offered it with a rose gold backplate, and I bought it, and I loved it. And I used it and skipped the trend of buying every other iPhone model like I had been doing, and went from a 6S Plus to a 12 Pro Max, which was like taking a baby off of breast milk and shoving a bottle of Jack Daniels down his throat. It was that much of a quantum leap, which I still use to this day. That's why I jokingly call it the master race. It does everything I want it to do, better than almost everything else out there. And then I bought the iWatch because my medical insurance company covered it, and all I have to do is pay $8 for service for it. So, like, I've got the watch, and it monitors your blood rate, your pulse. You can do text-to-speech with it, which is super convenient because I talk into it like Dick Tracy. I have a panelist who finally showed up late, who always seems to come right before we end the show.
Sorry.
But the reason I brought up why Apple's the master race is because it had saved a man's life. And my final story covers that. This guy was on like a nature hike or something, and he fell. And it was a pretty good sized drop, like 12 or 15 feet. And he must have hit his head because he was unconscious. The iWatch has a G meter and a gyroscope built into it, and the watch detected, like it says in the picture, it looks like you've taken a hard fall. And there's 2 buttons to choose from. You slide the SOS and it makes an emergency call, or you push the button that says, I fell but I'm okay, and then the phone will leave you alone. Well, after I think it's like 20 or 30 seconds, the watch said, okay, he's not a conscious person. It made the emergency services call immediately as an SOS, and the guy was rescued, and it saved his life. Hence why the Apple iPhone is the master race. Because it even saves your life. How neat is that? Right? All you hear from Android people is, at least it's not an Apple. And then there's guys like Tony who were holdouts. Oh, I love my Windows phone. Yeah? Well, how come they don't make them anymore then? Because apparently nobody else loved them. So anyway, as the story says, the iWatch owner was found bleeding from his head. Officers were able to provide limited medical care on the scene before being transported to a local hospital for additional medical treatment. He was ultimately released 7 days later, crediting his Apple Watch with saving his life. It's often lauded for its life-saving capabilities, with the device's lifestyles, health, and fitness monitoring features frequently being at the forefront of Apple's marketing campaigns. Fall detection is enabled by default, who are for users who are typically over the age of 65, but younger Apple Watch Series 4 users must enable it manually. I guess I should do that. Apple has iteration on fall detection with software updates since its debuts with Apple Watch Series 4, along with its device suites of personal and safety features. So, I thought mine was like a Series 6. So he has an older one, and it still had that feature. I'm pretty sure mine's
Software
a Series
update?
6. Maybe. I know I have to say Hola Visto Picoye. I have to do that. There we go. Problem solved. But, actually, Russian bot, where the hell is my Spetsnaz jacket? Where are my sober patches? Where's my OKP7? You answer that and I'll unmute you. Anyway.
Somewhere else.
Somewhere else. So anyway, that's pretty much going to wrap us up. That's all I've got for you stories-wise. I just thought I would end it on a kind of a neat story about how technology saved a person's life who didn't even have to enable or touch it. It's sort of like collision mitigation braking when you're arguing with the old lady for dinner and all of a sudden the car stops immediately and you realize you were just about to rear end a box truck that says Timmy's Tacos, and then you look at the wife and go, How about tacos? Yeah, tacos sounds great. That's a commercial. I forgot. I think it was a Hyundai commercial or something. Tacos sounds great. Not for me.
No.
Lasagna sounds great.
Yeah.
So anyway, hi Mike. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
I got a python.
You finally got the python. Awesome.
Yes, sir.
Congrats.
I was going to get the anaconda
And-
today too, but the shop was closed.
And damn it, now I have to buy another video game because of you. Thanks.
The captain?
No, you just threw out a link in the game show prep.
Oh.
You know, it's bad enough that I had the PlayStation, the original PlayStation version, but now I have to buy the remastered one.
yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So
Thank you for that. Ass.
So what he's saying is something that I have been very excited for, because I have we're gonna geek out a little bit on games. So if you're here for gun chat and you don't
you
want to
can
hear
leave now.
this, you're free
We're
to
done
go.
with guns.
But if you want to stick around, I got other stuff I can talk about after. Anyway, I had emulated PSX, first PlayStation, for a sequel to one of my favorite Nintendo games of all time, Chrono Trigger. And it was followed by a game called Chrono Cross.
I never needed to emulate because
You had the
Sean,
PlayStation.
I have a PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
Okay, and
So
remember
you were
the
able to
PS2
play
was
the
backwards
original.
compatible. Yeah, and
So-
I have both of them. The PlayStation version of Chrono Trigger and
Mhm.
Chrono Cross.
Hmm.
Because
So
I bought them both when they came out.
So I
Because they actually
tried
came
to
out
play
around
it.
the same time.
Yeah. Well, I tried to play it. It's just I couldn't get into Chrono Cross because it had almost nothing to do with the original story. But I was told that towards the end they sort of do cross into one another, which would be cool.
They do. It's a slow build up. It
Yeah.
was a slow build up, but I got it because it had something to do with it, but it was a different story.
Yeah.
But it was still it had great music. It had
This-
like
that I'll
super
give it.
great music.
Yes, it did.
And that's why when I could, I bought the Japanese soundtrack for it, and then when they released the soundtrack here in the United States, I bought it again.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Wow.
it's fantastic. And the way I can equate it now after seeing these shows, I had recently just sat down and watched all of Fargo, and I sat down and I watched all of True Detective. And
Right.
those two TV series sort of remind me of how Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross are. It's completely separate stories per season, but there is some link you will find that tie them together somewhere in them. So I'm okay with that. And
Yeah.
then Steam announced that a PC port version remaster of Chrono Cross is coming out. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to have that. So it's on my
also
wish
coming
list.
out for the PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
Not PlayStation 2, but the latest version of the PlayStation.
Yeah. So it's like, that's coming, which is great. However, if you wanted to have a little bit more of the original Chrono Trigger story when the game ended, there was a mod group years ago, I think back in like 2008. They loved the game so much that they took apart the sprite engine and they created a fan-made sequel called Crimson Echoes. And it takes place, it's either 5 or 10 years after the end
Actually,
story.
that's not true.
No, I played it and beat it. It's
No,
supposed
no,
to
no,
take
no,
place
no.
5 or 10 years after the Chrono Trigger ending.
Yeah, but Radical Dreamers was technically for the Satellaview, the downloadable game add-on
Ah.
for the SNES. What they did was they went and translated someone got a copy of it, and they went and
Right.
translated the whole damn thing.
Well, Radical Dreamers was supposed to tie the first game to the second game. It was supposed to help explain it. But Crimson Echoes actually took all of the first game's lore and kept it for the first game's sequel only. So, like, for instance, I know this, some of you aren't going to get this. One of my favorite characters in the original Chrono Trigger is Janus. You're going to know him as Magus because you're not introduced to Magus until you go back in time to 600 AD. You
Well,
start
no,
off in 1000 AD.
You're not introduced to him as a character, but But if you talk to some monsters in some parts of that,
Well,
of
no,
the
you're
Chrono Trigger
introduced
world,
to
you hear about it.
You're introduced to the character of Magus when you go to 600 AD because he's like the antagonist against the frog. He's the bad
Mm.
guy. And then later on, you discover, first of all, who he is, why he's the way he is, and how he got there. And then you end up getting thrown back to 10,000 B or 12,000 BC. And when you go to that part of the story, that's the best soundtrack in that entire game. The overworld map of 12,000 BC is the best. Period. I'll fight anybody on that. It was my ringtone for like a decade. But that was the coolest story because what it showed was something that sci-fi authors have written for decades. Prehistoric man was far more advanced technologically than we are today, and their greed for power reverted the world back to a prehistoric time because of their failure. Or something like the Tower of Babel, in a way. They kept trying to reach God status and God punished them, right? So in 12,000 BC, the peoples of the world had technologies that we could only dream about today. And because of the corruption and power, grab, the world got destroyed back then, and all those people were lost. And this character, Magus, whose actual name is Janus, was thrown into a portal and sent to the future, the future for him, from 12,000 BC all the way up to 600 AD. Your character starts in 1000 AD, and you travel back to 600 AD. So
the
you're
reason
the
why
young
it's called
whippersnapper.
TLDR, the reason why it's called Chrono Trigger is because it's about time travel.
Yeah, and the time egg and resurrection and all that good stuff. It's an existential game.
And
it's
saving the world.
Amazing. It's amazing.
Saving the world.
And I the best part about it was when I first played it as a kid, the part that blew my mind was how they explained the red star in 65 million BC and how that was the cause of everything. And I'm just like, oh, that's fascinating, the way that they did that. And then how you do the thing with the moonstone, and then you have to like travel all the way up to like 2040 AD, so it's like absorbed light for millennia, and then you get it back as like the rainbow stone or whatever. That was
Sean,
awesome.
Would it be bad to say that I still have a working SNES and I have the original cartridge?
No, you have a collectible. There was an
Well,
arcade
no, not
here.
really, because I bought it from Kroger. I don't know if you know what Kroger is. They're basically they're a grocery store.
Yeah.
They used to rent out videos and video games. Okay.
Yeah.
And they were selling off a lot of their SNES stuff in the late 90s. And I was able to get a copy of Chrono Trigger on the cartridge. Yeah, it was everybody and their brother had played it, but I got that copy.
Yeah, as long as it still works, it's fine.
Yeah. No, it still works. I still play games on it. It's fucking awesome.
We had an arcade here in town. It was kind of neat. Like, you would walk in, and they had these clear acrylic hemispheres, half circles, in the wall. And you would walk by each blister, and there'd be a shelf embedded inside the blister, and they had one of every console ever made against the wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they had, places where you could sit down and play the games for those consoles too. But they had like a display version of every console, and then you got to play every console, which was fascinating to me because I didn't realize how many of them actually existed at the time. And the collection's insane. And then my buddy Richard, he started doing that too. He started buying them and restoring them. I remember he had to find a Sony Vega TV, a tube TV, because he couldn't pipe the video signal to a more modern TV, which is strange because I was able to do it. I found a composite to HDMI adapter, and it works just fine.
Yeah.
I don't know why he couldn't get it to work, but he found a Vega TV. I warned him because he's not a very big guy, and I'm like, don't pick it up. Why not? It's just a TV. Dude, I used to sell those at Sears. For some reason, a 36-inch Vega TV weighs 900 pounds. Like, I think it was made by the leaded, plated bones of Jimmy Hoffa or something. I don't fucking know. But it was heavy. And he threw out his back lifting it. Didn't listen.
Didn't listen.
Listen.
The one thing I liked about Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross was the fact that, you could, depending on how you did it, you could change the background and style of the chat windows.
Yeah. I always did mine in like basket
you're reading
weave
the
purple.
text and the story and whatnot.
Yeah, I did mine in like basket weave purple or something, but loved the game.
I liked metallic gray.
I tried to. Oh, that's right, because it had the brushed metal. Yeah, you could pick the textures too. I remember that.
Yeah, you could.
I tried to get into it as much, and I can't. But it's not as good to me as the Chrono series. But it was made by the same people. Fun fact. Secret of Mana. And then there was Legend of Mana, and then there was another one that came out after that just came out last year, and it's on Steam now. So I went back and I started playing the original one, and I'm gonna work my way up the stories again. But the thing with that story is, it's sort of like Final Fantasy in a way, where the only thing in common are the elemental spirits, but the stories are all different. So I'm playing that one. There was a map in Secret of Mana. And there was a character named Diluc, and it was your female character's love interest. Anyway, there was these castles in the first game that were rejected maps from Chrono Trigger because it was made by the same author and publisher.
Really?
Yeah, and what was funny was when I played the one and then I played the other, you can tell they were the same because like the textures and the arts and the animations were identical. It's just they were like, this map's not big enough for this game, but it's okay for this game. So they just ported it over and deleted it off of Chrono Trigger and then redrew it for Chrono Trigger. But it's the same. You can tell, which is fascinating to me. But it's not for everybody, obviously.
No, it's true.
Anyway, but yeah, Chrono Cross PC port remaster HD. You can pre-purchase it now. I think it's for $24 or something. Or you can just $19.99. So that you can get it now as a pre-purchase and then download it when it goes available. I think was it April?
If you've not played the original Chrono Trigger, go on to Steam.
Go play that first
and get it. It's like $15.
Yeah, play Chrono Trigger first, and then if you really want to like have like the most enriched experience, go get Crimson Echoes. You have to emulate it. Play that second. Then play Radical Dreamers, which is a very short one, and then play Chrono Cross, and then you'll get the whole story. And then hopefully it'll be all tied together the way it's supposed to be. I remember that. Oh,
yeah.
My thing just reminded me that we have hit 2 hours. So,
okay.
Because
we're done here.
I'll go ahead and play this. And I will remind you all, or thank you all for watching and taking the time to hang out with us. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're a regular, welcome back. Maybe check out my other playlist and see if my other interests are of interest to you. If you've noticed, I've been doing more gun review videos, and that's going to continue because I've got a lot of stuff to show you these days.
Oh no.
Oh no. And yeah, there's going to be a game chat eventually. I promise I'll get to it. I know you're going to ask me. And
he says that. He says that. Don't listen to him, kids.
We'll get
Folks,
there.
Don't listen to him.
We'll get there. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next week. Later. We didn't even do what are you going to do the rest of the week? Because we already know.
We already know. Scott's probably going to go to the gun shop and play around with